And after that, I got down like 2013. I think I did. My best time was like 7:30, but that wasn't even good for a top 20.
Wow. Hello and welcome to the Human Reboot Project. I am super excited to be introducing you to Mr. Garth Prosser. He's a former Cannondale and Specialized bike athlete. He's been racing bikes much, much longer than some of us have been alive, and definitely some of his competitors were probably in diapers when he was lining up for the Leadville 100. He is a 23-time Leadville 100 mountain bike finisher. He's been called the OG of gravel and ultra mountain bike racing, and he's done all this while managing his own company. Ashford Surgical is the CEO. And a couple of years, he even had a bigger and crazier and scarier monkey wrench thrown in his life when he was diagnosed with colon cancer. So please welcome, and how you doing, Garth Prosser?
What's up, Jay?
Not much, man. It is good to see you. You are not the first guest that I've had on here that is I have a connection to because of cancer. I just want to give you a shout out because, like a couple other folks that I've interviewed or will be interviewing, you basically reached out, cold called me via social media when I put out there that I had cancer and started blogging and Instagramming about it, and offered up your support and were willing to share your experience with me, even though we had only met very, very briefly one time in Asheville, North Carolina. So I just want to say how much I appreciate that. And I think it's sort of indicative of the cancer community, is that they're always willing to, or there's so many people out there who are willing to share their own experiences and offer their support. So I just want to give you a huge shout out and thank you again.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah.
I hate to welcome you to the club, but welcome to the club.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is if you're in the club and you're welcoming people, that means that you're still alive. So,
right.
Yeah. Hey, so we're just going to dive right in because you've been, like I said in my intro, you've been racing bikes a lot longer than a lot of the people that you are still lining up against. And literally some of those people were not born. Some of those folks were in diapers, and you're still lining up at the pointy end of the stick with some of those folks. So why don't you just sort of take us back to how did Garth Prosser get into bike racing?
It was at, oddly, Ohio State, where we had at the time in like trying to remember the years. It was the early 90s. We had the largest mountain bike club in the country at Ohio State. We didn't even have a fucking trail. and we had the largest mountain bike club. It was kind of social. Everybody was mountain bike scene was new, and mountain bikes were cool. So even if you didn't ride off-road, everybody had a bike to get around campus because campus here is so large. And somebody on a weekend retreat into the woods, which was basically like a reason to get a couple kegs of beer and some special chili and hang out and go camping. Somebody's like, hey, there's a race down the road. Let's go do it. And I was a runner. So I had the legs. I didn't have any ability, but I had any ability to ride a bike, but I had the endurance in me already. And I just kind of crushed it and was like, maybe I can do this, like that. I'm like, but there was, I think at the time there was one guy putting on races in Ohio. So there was like 4 or 5 races all year long here. That's all you could do. So I kind of half-assed it for a few years.
Apologies for the short interruption, but I've got a couple of favors to ask of you. If you're enjoying this interview on the Human Reboot Project, could you do me a couple of favors? 1, leave a review. 2, make sure you give us a follow. Appreciate it. Now back to the program.
Started traveling more, started having to go out of state and find things to do. And that's how I got down to Pisgah and Asheville, where I know you. A friend of mine moved down there and was like, dude, you got to get back into the mountain bike scene, because I had kind of become a roadie. And there was, like I said, there was no trails here. You ride like fishing trails or hiking trails. It was terrible. So I kind of gave it up. I was tired of getting muddy, tired of getting just trashing your equipment,
Yeah.
not having a good experience, hiking with your bike all the time. I went to, what was it? DuPont was the first race I did down there. A friend of mine, Todd Branham, used to own a race series. And I was like, oh my God, this is what it's meant to be. So I started spending more time in Pisgah and Asheville and Brevard than up here. Like my mountain bike basically stayed in the garage and I trained on the road up here. And then I traveled down there I had a lot of work in that area. So I just started going down there all the time and racing.
Yeah. That's
and
awesome.
Got better and better.
Yeah. You got really good. Yeah. So I think you and I are about the same age, probably in college in the early 90s. Is that right? Yeah. So I remember my first mountain bike was a Specialized rock copper. It was pink and white, fully rigid, 26-inch wheels. Were you riding fully rigid when you first started racing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. My first bike was a Diamondback that I was like, these are cool. Like you see, like road bikes were kind of dorky in the early 90s and, not cool by any means. And all of a sudden mountain bikes started showing up on campus as a way to get around. And I'm like, they look like your old BMX bike, but they're adult sizes.
Yeah.
So I got a Diamondback out of the college newspaper used for like $175. And it was barely used. And then I upgraded to a nicer one by my senior year, which I want to say was like $500 for a fully rigid top of the line. The only one above it was one with a shock. And it was the only bike in the store that had a shock on it. And I don't remember the model names back then, but it's crazy to think I bought my first like full price bike and it was $525.
Yeah, I remember I had at some point graduated to a Univega and went back to the shop and got a fork installed. And I think it was the RockShox Mag 21, which in some ways it's come full circle. It was an oil air shock, but I think it had maybe, if I was lucky, 2 inches of travel. And you always knew it was time to get it serviced when it started blowing oil back all over your face.
The first shock I got, I eventually upgraded to a Kona, and it had rubber elastomers in the shock. And when it got cold, the rubber became hard, and it basically didn't work.
Yeah. Do you remember rubber elastomers, the Onza clipless pedals? That used the rubber elastomer that you could change out like to either like the white or sort of a clear colored elastomer or the black ones, which were the hard ones, and they would keep your feet in a little bit better until they started deteriorating. So, all right. Well, we have done a great job of dating ourselves within the first 10 minutes of this conversation. You mentioned that you were a runner and you grew up in Ohio as well as going to school there, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ohio, I think most people know of the Ohio State as a football school. It's a football state, as most of the states in the United States are, right? So were you a football player? What were you, just the dorky kid running cross country?
I was a thick little farm boy until I started running. Like I wore the jeans with an H for Husky all through high school, or like into high school. And then I remember my coach playing football, like he's like, you got to start running, fat boy. And I'm like, yeah, it was the 80s, there's probably some other stuff in there that was non-PC too, but I'm like, he's not wrong. And I started running and then I also hit puberty and I lost weight and gained like a foot. Well, so football's over at that point. So I just became a runner and I just ran on my own. I didn't join the cross country team until my senior year. And then it was like, big fish, small pond sort of thing. And running, running was my release because you can run until you fall down and then just get back up and keep running. You can push yourself really hard. You're probably not going to run into a tree like on a bike, and that was the only sport we had. I picked up skiing then also my junior year out there at some little 300-foot hill in Western Ohio. and the two together were perfect for me. Except skiing hurt me a lot more. I took a lot of chances. Bikes didn't exist. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's cool. And so, those first races you did, they sound like they were probably like your local cross country races. When did you, because I sort of know you as like literally I think of you as like one of the original like long distance mountain biker, gravel guys. I mean, anybody who's got 23 Leadvilles under their belt has been going long for a long time. So do you remember like your first big sort of ultra race?
24 hours of snowshoe as a team. I was racing locally, and the bike shop in Cincinnati, Bio Wheels, which expanded to Asheville at one point. I don't know what happened to that. Remember? They had the most legit team around, and I got in with them, and they're like, "You want to come race snowshoe with us?" And it was my first 24 hours, but I did really well. And I realized I could keep going because I'd been running, like I wasn't an ultra runner officially because that term didn't exist, but I would wake up late in the evening. I'd go to sleep early, wake up, do my homework, and then be up and go running because there was nothing else to do. It was freaking middle of nowhere, Ohio. So you just go run all night. And I would run all night. Like I'd run from my parents' house to their farm, might grab my crappy Hiawatha 12-speed road bike that I had as a kid, ride it around on dark ass roads with no lights, mind you, and then no helmet, and then tennis shoes, no clips, and then throw it back in the barn and run back to their house and get home at like 4 a.m., maybe nap, shower, and go to school.
Wow.
So I had that ability to just keep going if there was a goal in mind. So I'd have to set a goal. I'm like, I'm going to run down to the main farm, grab my bike right over to the river to like their grain farm, and then do a lap around the river and then come back. And this is Springfield, Ohio.
Yeah.
And then back home, either run or ride. And it's so cool because there's nobody out there. Like I never got abducted. Nobody wants a piece of this. And I rarely see somebody. I don't know, only one time a car slowed down and I was like, shit, they're turning around. And so I ran into a cornfield and they came back by really slow. I don't know if they thought I was like a runaway or what, or they knew me. They didn't yell or blow a horn. And they went on and I was like, man, fuck this. I'm going to cut across the cornfield and come out on a totally different road. Getting abducted.
They probably thought they were hallucinating, and then when they turned around to not find you, they were like confirmed that like, man, I'm giving up the drugs. Yeah.
Meanwhile, it was me that was hallucinating.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I think it's cool that you just admitted to inventing ultra running, and you didn't even know that you invented it, but now we know where it comes from. So. All those ultra runners out there now owe Garth Prosser a debt of gratitude. I also heard that you were somehow involved in sort of helping to start the National Ultra Endurance Series, which is a series of mountain bike races ultra mountain bike races all over the United States.
Yeah. So I was I was at a national race down at Snowshoe. This was like 99 or 2000. And I got a flyer on my window of the car. It was Chris Scott who puts on Shenandoah 100, and it was just like a small car, like a postcard size thing, 100-mile race. And I was like, oh wow, that's cool as shit. I think I could do that because I can go all day. I figured you just go a little slower, right? And I'm like, I went over and did it, and I had done 100 miles on a mountain bike, but it was a 5-mile course on a 12-hour race here in Ohio.
Whoa.
Oh God, it was horrible, dude. 20 laps on this twisty, turny, like Metro Park course. By the end, you just have vertigo because you're just going through these trees. It wasn't a cool course at all. So I knew I could handle it. I didn't know what it'd be like because this is like backcountry. So you like leave and don't see anybody versus like the 5-mile course. You're coming by people all the time. So I started doing hundreds. That was my first one. And the next year I found out there was like 5 other 100-milers in the country. There was Leadville, Wilderness 101 was another race Chris Scott was bringing back in State College, PA, and Cascade Cream Puff in Oregon.
Done that. That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't think that exists anymore.
No, I think there's talk about, I've heard about it coming back. And what I thought was really cool about that is, if I remember correctly, because I only did it once when I lived out in Eugene, is that every year they changed the course up. So like one year it was like a 33 mile loops. Other times it was 100-mile loop. I think it always changed up, if I remember.
I did it in 2001 only. It was 3 33-mile loops. And I thought it was going to be like at a campground where you started. So there'd be some sort of facility. So you're traveling across the country. You got to figure all the logistics out. And it was like, here's a mowed pasture with no outhouses, no water, no nothing. And I was like, I will not be coming back to this. And I don't know whatever happened to it after that. But it was just not, it wasn't, I don't know, to travel. If I lived out there, for sure, where I could throw all my shit in the car and drive, but hauling all your stuff on a plane and then renting a car and then driving down, I was like, the logistics just sucked. So I never did it again. I did love the course. I met some really cool people out there. But I never went back. I never rode in Oregon again.
It's worth the visit. It's worth the
visit.
We said
you started, you asked me about the National Ultra Race.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I started, like, I was working with a guy here who put on some local, like, cross-country distance races. I mean, I just did all of his races because racing had picked up by that point, and there was a few more courses popping up. I was like, we need to have one of these. Let's do it in Athens, Ohio, because they had a couple little trail systems, but they had a lot more gravel roads down there because it's the national forest. So it felt more like a Shenandoah, George Washington National Forest, Shenandoah Valley style of course, where you could ride some gravel, maybe an old country paved road, drop in and do some single, drop out, ride some more gravel, find some more single or some more ATV trail. And this guy, Ryan, who runs the local series, was like, how about up here? Well, there was no freaking trail up there where he wanted to do Mohican, which is the area of Ohio where he was at. So we started looking, and we spent, oh my God, years looking for trail and getting property access from locals, because it's a lot more private land up there. There's nowhere to build trail. There's the one state park. Everything else is private. So you got to get people to let you do it, or cut through their property, or maybe an old road that they've taken back over because it's been decommissioned. I spent a week clearing a half a mile of old road so we could put the race on. It was just completely overgrown with briars.
Wow.
And then we started calling people. There was only a few races, so we called Rick Plight in Michigan and got access, or got him involved, because he had Lumberjack 100. So we had 2 of Chris Scott's races. Leadville, obviously, they didn't want to play with anybody else. There was a race called the Vail Ultra, and they were going to join in, but they decided the Vail was not happy with a mountain bike race for some reason. So that only went on like 3 years, and that got, was taken out. There was one in Utah. I can't even remember the name of it. It had no character whatsoever. It was a terrible course. It was in there, but we got 5 races together, I think, that first year. And I forget, we maybe had 15, 20 guys qualify. Like, I think it was complete 4 of the 5. You could drop one or just not do one because travel's a lot. And I was like, I don't know if it'll grow, but it was basically the reason I wanted to do it was to get a course in Ohio where I could ride, longer, and also cross promote, like, it's not like you're trying to sell somebody something they don't want. You're like, hey, there's a group of people out there that want to ride all day. Let's get them to come to our course and check it out. And that's grown, and I think people are kind of over the 100-mile thing. I think it's a lot for somebody to bite off to try and travel all across the country, race 8 hours at a pop or more. And I mean, it's just expensive. People like there's the 100K movement now, where everybody's doing the metric century or whatever. That seems to be more popular now. And I've noticed a lot more of those races popping up that aren't even involved in a series. My favorite course of all time, BT Epic in Missouri, happens in October. It's really like end of the season type party. Mid-October at a campground that's closed for the year, basically, because it's a float camp. 55 miles, a single track mostly. It's got maybe 5 miles of road in it, but it's perfect for that. And it's that distance, like 50, 60 miles.
Yeah. That's an interesting point too about the sort of transition from 100 milers to 60 milers. And I think if you're a race promoter, it also puts a lot less work on you. Obviously, you don't have to find an additional 40 miles of trail, but you also get to go home a lot earlier because you're not waiting for those, stragglers to
14-hour people.
Yeah, exactly. So when you started the Ultra Series and you were, I assume you were trying to do all those races. Are any of those guys that you were racing against, are they still around? Are they still out there racing, or are you the last man standing?
Yeah, some of them are. I see Jeremiah Bishop. He's still out there. I think he's kind of just chilling now, doing his ultra. What is it called? I can't remember the name of it. He's got a YouTube series.
Okay.
They're like these crazy routes he cooks up, like riding gravel roads from all the way down through Virginia, like some ridgeline gravel roads. It's almost like a 3-day version of the Tour Divide type thing.
Okay.
And he just films it. It's not for like, there's not really a race. It'll be him and 2 other guys or 3 other guys, and they film it, and they carry everything or stop at gas stations and sleep in parks under awnings. It's really cool.
Cool. Well, I'll look it up and put the link in the show notes.
Out there. Yeah. God, I just got an email for it the other day. What it's called? Geez, I should have looked this up.
That's all right. We're getting old.
Yeah. I blame the chemo.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, right?
And all the years.
I blame the radiation to my head 6 weeks or for 30 days straight. So
that's what I had. 30 days.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Hey, I want to just keep talking about the ultra thing because you sort of have probably seen it all. Now the big thing is how many carbs can I ingest and not throw them up and still keep going fast? What did nutrition look like 20 years ago when you started?
3 goos an hour was the limit according to everything. Like I worked with a professor at OSU whose name has also escaped me, but it was 300 calories per hour max, and maybe some people could get, 350 or 4, and it was goos, use the ubiquitous term. A Cliff Shot was a big one when it came in the toothpaste tube. And like some people, John Stamstead, who was the originator of the solo 24-hour racing, he would eat whatever garbage he put on the table. Like I look at him like, dude, I would throw up Spam and Skittles and Twizzlers and stuff. And dude can fly on that stuff.
I heard him one time give a big endorsement to Original Krispy Kreme glazed donuts. He said because he could just shove them in his mouth and they would literally the sugar would just dissolve right into his system. And I don't know how many carbs are in a Krispy Kreme donut, but I would have to think that it's a lot because there's nothing but sugar and a little bit of flour in those things and butter.
And the fat. Whatever they're fried in.
Yeah. That's a name I haven't heard forever. What is he up to now? Does he still race or ride?
I saw him in Leadville last 2 years ago. I didn't go to Leadville this year because first year I just said I'm not going. My son started school and I wanted to be with him the last summer and hang out before he was gone. And but it was like I think last year they came back. He and Lori Brandt, who had won the first year, and they were giving talks up there. He was going to put on sort of an adventure ride experience. He's up in the Pacific Northwest, and I honestly haven't talked to him for a couple months now. But I think he had some injury, or maybe. Man, I hate that I don't remember this.
That's
I
all right.
know he had an injury. He got hit at least once. And I don't remember if the reason he pulled back was the injury, or he had like a little like a tick-borne illness or something like that, maybe. But we planned on addressing it again and talking about like maybe getting together, because a lot of the old dudes were like starting to ride again, like, hey, let's go, have an experience in the Pacific Northwest. It was going to be a big gravel thing, like maybe 3 days of point to point each day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe you can give me an introduction and I could
I
get
can
him
totally,
on.
yeah.
That'd be awesome. I mean, I remember reading about his exploits, like up in Alaska with the Iditarod. Race and stuff. So, and that guy, I just remember reading about him, thinking like, who can ride a bike that long? Who can ride a bike that long in the snow? It's just crazy to me.
Snow.
So, yeah.
Before fat bikes.
Yeah.
All before fat bikes.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Yeah, I tried that one once. It was the warmest year they'd ever had the race, the Iditarod, and a friend of mine and I trained our asses off all winter. We were out no matter what. We're riding every day until we leave. And we would do rides where it was 20 degrees, and it was all road rides here. And the stuff you wore back in the early 2000s was shit compared to what we have now. I don't know how I guess we were in our 20s is how we did it. But he turned me on to that, and it was epic snow, and the trails weren't frozen. So instead of being able to ride on like packed snowmobile trail, we were post holing. It was the worst. And clear that.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, and then that race, I don't know what happened. I think that went away as well. I haven't heard anything about it lately. It would be fun to do on a fat bike, because you have 5-inch tires now instead of we would slam downhill tires on 26-inch mountain bikes. And some dudes up there who were, Alaskan people are more like do it yourself garage engineers. These dudes would make their own forks and weld 2 rims together, or it's all kinds of crazy shit. And you saw the weirdest Franken bikes up there.
Yeah.
But I would go back on a fat bike, but oh my God, I can still remember I was on a Jameis, just a hardtail Jameis, because I could put a bigger tire in it, and it was still a 2.4 downhill tire.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I get whiny and tired just, sometimes post holing around my house on my bike in Colorado. I can't imagine being out in the middle of nowhere in Alaska and trying to race my bike. That's just insane. So
I stepped in open water and I was like, get me the hell out of here. And a snowmobile came by and I was trying to, I stepped in water. I'm like, oh shit. And I was like, all right, chill. It didn't, you're not soaked. You just stepped in water.
Yeah.
It was on my boot, and then I took my hose from my backpack and it had frozen because I didn't blow back through it to clear it. And then I kind of started to freak out a little bit. And I was sweating because I was working hard to keep going. But then you start getting cold fast. This dude came by and he's like, I can't give you a ride. And the first thought through my head was, I can take this guy and steal his snowmobile and get him to get warm. And he goes, because if I give you a ride, you're out of the race. And I go, you damn Skippy, I'm out of the race, dude. I want to be out of Alaska. The Bears can have this place. I don't ever want to come here again. And he's like, well, you want to do some jumping jacks? And I threw my bike on his sled behind his snowmobile, jumped on and wrapped him up with a bear hug from behind him because I'm shaking. And I'm like, get me somewhere warm. And, it was 5-10 miles up the river to the checkpoint house. And I went in there and I was like, I'm done. Just take my name off the list. Just fly me out. That's it.
Wow. Well, and that was all before cell phones, or at least cell phone
out there for sure.
No GPS tracking devices, or
it was January or February of 2022. Yeah, I don't think.
Oh, so it wasn't 2022, wasn't that long ago?
Or I'm sorry, 2002. My fault.
2000.
My
Okay,
brain's
that
not
was
working. Yeah, 2022 would have been great. I would have had a fat bike. Yeah, I haven't been back to Alaska since.
Yeah, you're not selling it. You're selling it to me. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're a snow guy. I mean,
Yeah. I'm a snow guy who likes to know that at the end of the day, I can go home and crawl up under the covers of my own bed. So,
yeah, I haven't gotten into the whole bike packing experience in the middle of winter when you got to carry a whole REI worth of gear for all the conditions.
Yeah.
I appreciate guys that think that out, but to me, I'm like, I'd rather not sit at the table and do all that math and just go ride. If it's from hotel to hotel, bring it on.
Yeah. Yeah. I like a good summer backpacking trip, but yeah, the winter one hasn't crossed my mind.
When you can wash your chamois in the creek and take a bath in there and then hang it on a tree to dry while you sleep. Yeah, I'm down with that.
100%. 100%. So how long? So you've been racing bikes now, what, 30 years? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly. It was 1995 when the OSU Mountain Bike Club, 90, maybe 94, when some dude came by and was like, "Hey, we have a mountain bike club," because I had a mountain bike. I thought they looked cool, and it was just kind of a social club. But I remember talking. They made the big announcement one day. They're like, "We have the biggest mountain bike club." How they knew it? Because we didn't have the internet. Yeah. Maybe they made that shit up. I was kind of like, really? Bigger than states that actually have mountain biking? Because I don't even know if, I think Dirt Rag was around. But that was our only access, really, to local stuff. There was a couple big mags that were national, but Dirt Rag was out of Pittsburgh. And it was our local scene that thing blew up, and now like most print mags, it's gone.
Yeah, I remember Dirt Rag. It was always printed on the non-shiny paper. So
it was cool.
It stood out from the other magazines on at the shop because it just looked different. It had like cool illustrations as well as photographs and just like some really cool. There was I remember one of the writers, his handle was the old bike fart or something like that.
Yeah, I always had who that was.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, I don't. And then it always sort of blew my mind that it was out of Pittsburgh. I was,
right.
Like, oh, people ride mountain bikes other places too.
Were you always in Asheville?
No. I grew up in the Southeast, mainly in Atlanta and a little town called Statesboro, which is Georgia Southern University, not far from Savannah. So, I didn't start I started my career at REI. We're getting way off topic here. People don't want to know this, but you asked. So started
fast forward.
Yeah. When I started working for REI, I saw it as an opportunity to like, man, there's a lot of really cool places out there that I want to live and ride my bike. So I did a cool journey, Atlanta to Spokane, Washington, Eugene, Asheville, which is where I was, and then out here to Colorado. So
it's all the cool places.
And now I just want to be a podcaster. So we'll see how that goes.
See, people need to know this. So somebody needs to interview you too. So that's how it goes.
I have to have something interesting to say first. So, going back, so do you remember when you got your pro license?
Remember, so I don't know, what it was called. Well, it was called Norba back then, and you had to go like beginner, sport, expert, semi-pro, pro, and they're like, at some point they realized they didn't have enough people, so they're like, we're doing away with the semi-pros. I had gotten the points to become a semi-pro. They're like, you can be a pro or you can be an expert, but we're doing away with that. That was like 2002. 1 or 2 in there somewhere. I can't remember. It was after I started doing all the long stuff, because I was never that fast at the short stuff, but I could go pretty fast all day.
Right.
Not like, there's like the super fast guys of the world. I was a top 10 guy in those races, those long races, and then the marathon distance. So it was kind of like I never did, what they call it. They changed the name from Norba. I think USA Cycling bought Norba out and kind of, you know, started having it at all the she event sites.
Yeah.
And, you know, people, in my opinion, they priced people out of it because it was $100 to do a hour and 45-minute race at a ski resort in Colorado where the hotels, the condos were like $500 a night and the meals were like $100. And I'm like, fortunately, I had friends living in those places, but I don't know how a normal person could do that, especially a kid, unless their parents had super deep pockets and were paying for it.
Yeah.
And I, you know, honestly, they've changed now. I think cross country, it's spectator friendly, but it's cyclocross on steroids, you know, but it is way more fun to watch, you know, especially on TV where you can see the whole damn course.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to go stand there and watch it really, because it's not, we don't have that in Ohio.
Yeah.
And then when I'm in Colorado, I'm riding a bike. I'm not watching people ride bikes.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that they're doing on the cross country courses now would be, I think, considered extreme.
Oh yeah,
on the Norba downhill circuit 20 years ago.
I did,
you know, like 4 or 5 foot, you know, rock ledge drops and stuff. Yeah,
we did. A friend of mine, sorry, dog saw a deer. A buddy of mine from West Virginia who was really good, Benji Climas. For some reason, we decided we got a hair up our ass the year after. I did La Ruta in 2001 because I had a death of a close associate of mine, and I was like, I don't want to have any regrets if something like that were to happen to me. So I'm like, I saw La Ruta in Costa Rica, and I'm like, I'm going to do that. Went and did that fall, and then the next year we did. I did a sport in Alaska, and then the next year I went down to South Africa and did Cape Epic with Benji. And they're like, oh, on the 7th day of the race, it was an 8-day stage race, I think. Oh my God. It was basically gravel every day because they had no single track. But the one day they did put single track in, they're like, this is the 1996 or 7 World Cup downhill course outside of Stellenbosch, South Africa. And I'm like, fucking downhill? I can't do that. And they're like, oh, it's not like, and this was in 2003 or 4. They're like, no, it's not what we have now.
Yeah.
It was a flow trail. Like there were no jumps at all. It was just berms and switchies all the way down. It was super cool. But it was, you basically rode up and then rode down. I was like, totally different sports now.
Yeah. And there's some stuff that's definitely like, do you remember Four Cross? Where they'd have like
came and went, they'd
have like 4 riders at once, and it was like basically a short and downhill type course. And they do dual slalom racing, which I always thought was really cool. They would, So
definitely not peddlers cycling.
Yeah,
more of a I don't even know what you call it.
Yeah.
Not even BMX, but like trials riding type shit. Yeah.
I was, that's funny. I found some old YouTube videos from Norba Nationals in Helen, Georgia. And I was watching the old, it was all recorded on VHS trials stuff. And it's kind of cool to watch. I always admire trials riders. It's just sort of a type of balance. And I don't know. I just can't ever make the bike do the things they do. It's really cool.
No, they're pretty amazing. There's some of that stuff that they ride in Pisgah that is like, dude, really? That's not what I consider mountain bike. That's a different sport. It's like gymnastics on a bike.
Fair enough. So as a pro, were you able to like fully support yourself as a professional cyclist, or did you always have you always had the side hustle with the real job? Yeah.
So after grad school, I went to work in the medical industry as I don't know what you call it, a tech maybe. I'd go into hospitals and teach them how to use new equipment, and then set it up and turn the knobs during surgery for video surgery stuff. So that was my money. Cycling was basically like a hobby that was free, and I got to go cool places and get free bikes and free stuff. But it wasn't like I know that some guys do, but I think it's very few that can actually support themselves unless they want to live like a vagabond and hustle. And I'm like, I like my dogs. I like my house. I'm not, I mean, yeah.
You don't want to do the van life.
No. I mean, yeah, as long as I can come back home every few days.
Um, and so like what did train, I mean, like I remember when I first got into cycling and trying to be a racer, everybody was like, oh, you got to get Joel Friel's the Cyclist Bible
Right.
for training. Is that what you used, or did you what did your training look
I talked to
like?
the older guys mostly. I remember talking to there used to be a race in Ohio. It was the OG race in Ohio. It was called DD Mao. It was down near Athens, Ohio, where Ohio University is. Where right now is currently some of the best mountain biking in the state is down there because they have like a 90-mile trail system called Bailey's. It's specifically for us. Started in 2020 and just finished up this year, building all 90. But they're putting in all the infrastructure for it. But this race called DD Mao at this technical college was put on by the Vietnam vets, and I was moving up in the ranks. I was an expert racer, and I'm like, how do I get fast in the expert class? And this one guy's like, you got to ride at least an hour a day. And I'm like, aha, ride more. And so I came home and I was already riding like one group ride a week. I started finding more guys to ride with on the road, and these were all old grizzly guys, and it's like, push harder, that was the answer to everything. And then was it 2001 I got onto the Cannondale Sobe team, which was the big grassrootsy type race team back then, and we had a deal with Carmichael Training, and I went to them. And so basically I got the volume took me so far. But then I did the Carmichael thing for like 6 months religiously. And I was like, this sucks. I hated riding after I did it. Because it was like, oh, today you got to do 5 hours. And I'm like, shit, it's raining and cold. So I'd be on the trainer. And then the next day it's like, oh, just do an hour easy. And it's beautiful in 60. And I'm like, damn it. So but I did it religiously. I didn't drink. And I wasn't a big drinker, but I didn't drink anything. And I did it down at, like whatever they said. And I came out in the spring and went to Sea Otter in California. And I was just shit out of shape. I think it just made me hate it. It was too structured. I'm like, if I want to ride hard one day, I want to ride hard that day. And so I kind of, after that, I stopped doing structured training. I just do like ride hard stuff, which probably gives you a ceiling, which sucks. And now the training, I mean, night and day, the training these guys have developed is amazing now. Well, you have power trainers too that can control what you do. Yeah. So you can say, hey, look, you got to do an interval now, and this thing's going to make it hard. So you don't have any choice. You're going to have to stamp on the pedals. I mean, dude, look at the time. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So you and I were texting the other day, and you said, oh, it's rainy and cold outside. I'm going downstairs to get on the trainer. So was that a structured workout, or were you just going to go down there and ride around in Zwift's world until you were bored?
So during COVID, I got a Wahoo kicker bike. Yeah. Not a paid placement. I had to pay for it. I rode it 2 times in 2 years. Because I was like, fuck it. There's nobody out in the world. We were riding like crazy during COVID. We were putting in like sometimes 600-700 mile weeks. Because everybody's off work and they're like, hey, you want to ride? Hey, and there's no cars on the road. But right now, I'm in the last 2 years. Well, long story diverges off. I broke my arm last November and I couldn't ride at all because they had me in a cast where my arm was like out here.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't even, I was either using one arm and it was getting real tired, or I'd sit up straight and my ass would hurt. And so I just would go to the gym and do the Stairmaster. But once they got the cast off, I was like, I got to get back on a bike. It was like 3 months of hell. It was my longest. I wasn't off that long for cancer. It wasn't off that long when I got run over by a car. But breaking my arm was off forever. Also, I was getting old and lazy, and I'm like, fuck it. I can go to the gym and walk the Stairmaster forever. But last year I started riding it religiously once that happened. And I just go into Netflix world and try and finish Netflix. I'm like, whatever comes up next, I'm watching it. And a lot of times I'll be like, this sucks, and go on to something else. But like Scandinavian murder porn. It's not, the term murder porn.
Yeah.
But it's all like, it was all Scandinavian. A lot of it was in a foreign language and had been dubbed over, but it'd be like 8-part mini-series type shows where they're all fiction. Somebody gets killed, you got to find the killer. They all take a different arc here and there. I watched a ton of those last winter, but I've not yet got on Zwift because I'm like, well, I'm not back to needing to train. I just need to do base miles. And I just get on and I'd ride hard for like, maybe throw it in the resistance way up and do like a climb, and then maybe do like 1 minute little fast efforts with breaks, and just trying to get back into it. I mean, I was at the lowest fitness level I'd been at last March when I started getting back on the bike. As far as riding wise, I didn't gain a bunch of weight or anything, but I had no endurance in my legs whatsoever.
So knowing what you know after all these years of racing and training, both structured and just sort of by feel, if like some young kid was to come up to you at a race and say, hey, I want to be a professional mountain bike racer or gravel racer, what would you tell them?
Don't.
Go NBA.
I've had some kids. I work with a kid. I mean, he's way faster than me now, but he's doing it all, and all the things I see him, and he loves it. And it's just your entire life. So know that if you're going to do it, this is it's your entire life. So get ready to kind of be a hermit at times and kind of have to say no a lot of times. I was already out of school and stuff when I started riding hard. Like 97, I think, was when I really was like, pretty close to the fastest guy on a mountain bike in Ohio, back and forth with one other dude. And that's because one of the really fast guys moved out of state to Colorado. He was legit fast. But there was times when I was like, oh man, I can't go out tonight because I got a race tomorrow. And then like, yeah, that's good. But sometimes you just want to go out.
Yeah.
You're like young and don't have kids and don't have that many responsibilities. All of a sudden you got a responsibility and you got to miss something.
Yeah.
Just know that you're going to have to say no to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Maybe. Yeah. Ask those guys that had to worry about a paycheck from it if it was worth it, because I didn't have to. And I don't know too many people like that, that are in that stratosphere.
Sure.
Like shit, if I don't win, I don't eat.
Yeah.
I had a buddy from Boulder that told me he was racing road, I think, and he's like, my teammate's like, dude, you don't know how to go hard enough because you don't have to worry about eating tonight. And it was like, he was financially set. So if he didn't get the win, it wasn't gonna affect his life really.
Yeah.
Which would suck because there's always somebody as fast as you.
Right.
Even the fastest guys like Hot A once in a while gets beat. Very rarely.
Yeah.
Different kind of beast. We used to say that about Lance, but yeah. he only did one race, right?
Yeah. Exactly, right? Well, and he showed up for Leadville for 1 year too, right?
2.
Yeah.
2 years. It was like that some people say that ruined Leadville because all of a sudden now it's like corporate shiny thing.
Yeah.
which it's still like, I still go, I still, you know, a lot of my friends that are hardcore, like, man, fuck that race. And I'm like, yeah, but all my friends still do it, you know, like all
Yeah.
those, you know, all the guys like Ty Hall and his crew that, you know, they live there, they do the race. They're not up there in that pro category, you know, that front gate now where
Right.
there's like 25 of the, what is that called?
The
Lifetime Grand
Lifetime
Prix
Grand Prix.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's still a soul to it that's there underneath.
Yeah.
If you know people, you
Yeah.
know, like when we hang out up there,
Yeah.
we see the old crowd.
Yeah. I mean, I spent years just thinking like, oh, that would be a really cool thing to do. And this is most of the time when I was living in Georgia, and I knew like one person who'd gone out and done it. And you know, I did my first one 4 years ago, and it is, I can't even describe it to people. I was like, you just don't understand. It's not the race per se, it's the community and the excitement. And you would think at a 100-mile mountain bike race, at some point you would like be alone in the woods.
No.
You're never alone at that race. There's always somebody there like cheering for you. They don't know you. And they're, you know, ringing a cowbell or offering you an ice cold Coke or something. It's just a different experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, when I started in 2001, that was my first year doing Leadville. There were expanses of that course where you didn't see people on the side and you might not see another rider, but they had a 700 person limit. And so that meant maybe 650 showing up, because a lot of people, you know, shit
Right.
happens between January and August where you can't race. There used to be a spot going down into Twin Lakes, that paved road, just like on the way outbound. As soon as you crest that, you know, you've got like a mile downhill where you can whip your shit out and pee while you're riding down the hill. Now it's packed with people, and you can't take a nature break on the hill anymore. I remember we'd all do that. I'm like, hey guys, as soon as we get over this rise, I'm going to the back because I'm going to pee on the downhill. Nope, not anymore. Now you got to go behind a tree somewhere.
Yeah.
Like literally you'll get seen.
Yeah. I assume that there's an official sponsor for everything now at Leadville. So I assume there's an official porta potty sponsor as well. So
yeah, there's a ton of those now that weren't there.
Yeah. Well, but you've got what, 2,000 plus people plus support crews. And, you know, I think,
is it 2,000 now? I don't even know.
I think it's close to 2,000 people.
I mean, it's got to be close.
Yeah, and I heard somewhere, you know, how you hear facts. I don't know if I didn't go and fact check this, but somebody told me that the Leadville, the mountain bike race, quadruples the population of Leadville for the weekend, because so many people show up with, you know, their support crews and family and
training ahead of time.
Yeah.
I know once a stat I did get from an official from the Prince of Leadville, Cole Klauber, who's a friend of mine. He said that 50% of the entire draw for Main Street Leadville comes in the week before the mountain bike race and the week after that leads up to the running race.
Right.
So 50% of the draw is 2 weeks of the year.
Oh.
Now though, Leadville, I mean, when I first started going up there, we looked at some mining houses, kind of, you just look, see what stuff's $100,000. You could buy a house up there. And that house now is like 350.
Yeah.
You know, and it hasn't changed. The house hasn't changed. It's still a piece of shit. But that's rare to find a piece of shit now because people bought them and fixed them up.
Flip them,
Yeah, my buddy Gavin that he's lived up there for a while. He's a Michigander, but he's been up there for 20 years or something. He's into that business, and you know, we talk it every year, and he's like, good luck finding one. I'm like, yeah.
It's you go up there now. You know, I live an hour, 45-minute drive from Leadville, so I go up there quite often. And it, especially on the weekends, no matter what time of year, even the winter, it's crowded up there now. It's
a real town though. I mean, it's got, you know, 5-story buildings that were there for 100 years, whereas a lot of those towns, even Breckenridge, which is like my second home, is not that big, was never as big as Leadville
Right.
was at one time. And now I would assume Leadville, because it's got more room to grow, will go back to that. That was the
Yeah.
biggest town west of the Mississippi for a while, or the richest, or something like that.
I don't
It
know.
had some
Yeah.
designation.
Yeah. It
Because
has an opera house, so it had to be
yeah,
fancy, right?
right.
Yeah. I love the fact that there's an opera house in town, but if you ride the Mineral Belt Loop up above town, there's a you cross, I think it's called Slaughter Gulch, and it's literally where they used to take all the cattle for the mining town, and they would slaughter them up there. I guess to keep the
Stink
blood
out of
and
town.
stink and stuff out of town.
Oh my
So,
God, that's a new one to me. I'll have to
yeah.
look for that.
I think it's called Slaughter Gulch. It's and that's just where they slaughtered animals for the town for people to eat. It's a
Leadville
cool
has done
town.
an amazing job with putting single track in too. 'Cause
Yeah.
before there was really no proper single track, and now there's a ton.
Yeah.
Which all those towns are doing. It's a summertime activity that draws crowds and money. So
Yeah.
the cool one, a quick diverge again, is the loop from Breckenridge over to Como, over to Fairplay, Alma, and back over Hoosier Pass. It's like 3 passes, and it's really not. It's like a 4-hour ride, and it's gravel, but then there's single track. The Alma Fairplay mountain bike clubs put in a ton of single track over there, and you're only on Highway 9 for like a quarter mile.
Wow.
It's a ton of beautiful riding.
Well, I haven't done that one. I'll have to look into that. That'd be a good training ride
Next
for this.
summer.
Yeah. For sure. 100%. Hey, so 23 races, and we're going to talk about some of your crazy adventures out there at Leadville, but do you know what your best placing was ever?
Back in the early days, I was in the top 20 outside of my first year, like the next 9 years, because they weren't my best times, but the people weren't that fast.
Right.
And then like 2009 or 10, Lance showed up, and then I was also old by that time. And these young guys started showing up, and all the pros, the real, like, ton of old road pros, Floyd Landis, goes both, mountain or road, that guy's going to shred. And the times just went down. So I think my best place finish was 13th, and that was an 8-hour finish.
Yeah.
And after that, I got down like 2013. I think my best time was like 7:30, but that wasn't even good for a top 20.
Wow.
That was like 30th place. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just, and now you got to be like, if you're not under 7 hours, forget it.
Yeah.
I'm not close to that, dude. My times are creeping back up towards 9.
Yeah. Wish I had that problem, creeping back up towards 9. Hey, Jay here with the Human Reboot Project. Hopefully you're enjoying my interview with Garth. If so, hit that like button as well as the subscribe button. Garth and I will be back next week for episode 2, where we continue to talk about the Leadville 100 mountain bike race as well as his cancer diagnosis. Appreciate you watching. And remember, it's never too late to reboot.